The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Melt.
The legalization of marijuana isn't just a big change for pot smokers and police. It's a huge change for drug-sniffing dogs, too. Como 4's Lisa Jaffe explains how some police departments are trying to teach old dogs new tricks.
It's one thing for officers to change how they approach pot users with the passage of I-502. It's another to teach a drug dog the difference between dealers and legal users.
What we're doing ever since I-502 passed is desensitizing them to the smell of marijuana.
Seattle police use rewards to train their tracking or drug-sniffing dogs. But now, the dogs are no longer rewarded when they smell pot.
So there's some natural concern from people out in the community that if they're driving, they've got some weed, is the drug dog going to show up if they get stopped? And oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Are they going to treat me like a drug trafficker or what?
Sergeant Sean Whitcomb says that's not going to happen if you're holding a legal ounce. Bellevue Police and the Washington State Patrol say they're no longer training narcotics dogs to alert for marijuana.
If there's more than an ounce of marijuana, that's where the expertise of the handler is going to come in. All of our handlers know very well what the odor of marijuana smells like.
But Tacoma police aren't changing their canine training or procedures, saying marijuana is still illegal under federal law. ACLU's author of I-502 says that doesn't make sense.
That means that people that are in complete compliance with the law might be stopped and sniffed and detained for longer than necessary for questioning.
The new law means law enforcement agencies that once relied solely on the narcotics dog's nose to request a search warrant now need to let the judge know if the drug-sniffing dog might be alerting for a legal amount of pot. But there are other suspicious reasons to search the suspect. In Bellevue, Lisa Jaffe, Como 4 News.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
This is the Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Hell yeah! We finally made it to Freaky Friday. I don't know why I wanted to call it Freaky Friday today. I just, it's kind of freaky today, I guess. You know, they've got, like Throwback Thursdays and Weird Wednesdays. I don't know. Everybody's got a name for the day. Hump Day! That's what I like, is the Hump Day. So, but we're on Friday. It's the end of the week. This piece that you just heard about in the news, that's from Como, Channel 4 out in Seattle. I knew a DJ in Cleveland. He wasn't actually a DJ. He was a talk show host out in Cleveland for a big AM station. Left there and went to Como. But I think he was working on their news station, their radio station, not the TV station. There are unintended consequences anytime you change the law. Anytime the law is getting adjusted, obviously the adjustment was made for certain reasons. It was intended to have a certain effect. And then, sometimes legislators don't look past the intended effect for what maybe the unintended effect could be and didn't plan for that. And I think this is a good example of that. We're talking about police dogs, in this instance, in this news story, that were trained as drug dogs. It's part of their, drug task force schematic, so to speak. And these dogs are obviously alerting for marijuana. Now, if you change the law like they did in Seattle or in Washington State, this creates a bit of a problem, doesn't it? As it relates to the dogs and the searches. It's a problem. So I'm suggesting that when you change these laws and you don't look far enough ahead to see what may happen as a result of these laws being changed and didn't plan for them, you've got issues like this that end up resulting. And I guess it's not so bad for the dogs that are work dogs, but you have to remember that these dogs don't consider themselves as working. They consider themselves as playing. This is all, Pavlovian. You get the dog to understand a certain thing, And then when he reacts a certain way, then you reward him for that reaction. It's just a Pavlovian experience. Basic ABC dog training. And so they get these dogs to act a certain way and all these alerts are different. It could be they sit down. It could be that they scratch. It could be that they get excited and wag their tail. There's an alert. And when they behave this way after having been exposed to a certain substance, a lot of different drugs, then, they get rewarded. And they've done this with the dogs with marijuana, obviously. And so now when you change the law and it's legal and you get pulled over and the dog is like, hey, I smell some marijuana. Alert, alert, alert. Now all of a sudden, the cops pulling you out of the car. You got drugs in the car. Where are the drugs? Da-da-da-da-da. They're scanning you over. They're putting the cuffs on you. They're giving you the rundown, the third degree. They got the flashlight shining in your face in the middle of the night. I mean, it's all that stuff. But, officer, you found my marijuana. My marijuana is perfectly legal. That's what he's alerting on, is that marijuana. Well, you're right, Mr. Citizen X. The dog found the marijuana. But look, I found this here. Is this gun registered to you? Well, no, sir. I didn't realize I had to register the gun. Do I have to register the gun? It's in its case. We're supposed. Yeah, we're going to have to run you in on the gun charge now. Well, you see, here's the whole thing with that. If the dog is alerting to the pot, and the pot is legal according to state law, and you've got to remember these are state, authorized patrol agents. I mean, they're agents of the state. They're not agents of the federal government. They've got that law to enforce if they decide they want to. They'd have to turn that complaint over to a federal prosecutor if there was a federal case. But these guys are agents of the state. They're not being paid by the federal government. They're not getting, I don't know. They might be getting stuff from the federal government. Who knows? The federal government's got their wings into everything. They've got the ugly roots into just about everybody. But the fact of the matter remains, their authority is derived by the state, not from the federal government. And if they're going to pull you over and the dog is alerting to something the state says is legal in your possession, and the dog finds something else like that gun, maybe that gun was just used in a murder. Well, maybe the guy did kill somebody, and he's got a gun in there. The dog didn't alert to the gun, he alerted to the pot. But they didn't do a search until after the dog alerted. Now they got a search warrant or probable cause, reason to search. And so they go into the search, and they find this gun. And lo and behold, they arrest the person that they pulled over for the gun charge and haul him off to jail. And then they find out later this gun was used in a murder. Now, what's wrong with this picture? I know all the lawyers are already, this is not a head scratcher for them. But the problem is that the dog and the search warrant were predicated on the idea that the dog alerted to something that was legal. And the search warrant was predicated on the search for that legal thing. And that's a problem, because now that they found the gun, maybe the murder investigation and scene, maybe those cops, the homicide cops, not the traffic patrol people, but the homicide cops, maybe they would have found that gun, found that perpetrator absent this pullover. But now that this guy's been pulled over and the cop found a gun and the gun wasn't registered or, had something scratched off of it or whatever they could find him for, and they haul the guy in and they find out the gun's been used in a murder, guess what's at risk for evidence? The murder weapon. They may eventually, through other circumstantial evidence, etc., be able to get a murder conviction on that guy. However, absent that, if the only evidence they have is the actual murder weapon, and it's literally the smoking gun here, the dog alerted to a different smoke, didn't he? And so the evidence is going to be quashed. Any lawyer worth his salt would have that evidence thrown out in a heartbeat, because the search warrant was predicated on the dog alerting to something that was legal. He didn't alert on the gun. He alerted on the pot. And so this is a problem for law enforcement when they legalize. Now, it seems like the people in, did they say Tacoma? I think they said the Tacoma Police Department was not going to change their dogs. They were just going to stick through it because, the Tacoma police are kind of like Oakland County here in Michigan. By the way, Oakland County is like one of the largest sheriff's departments in the whole country. I think it might be I don't know. I know they got a lot of bucks. I know they got a lot of clout. I know they're against the marijuana. And, This is a huge issue. You can't have the dogs alerting to something that's legal and throwing other cases. I just used the murder case as an example, but this could happen with anything, any crime. That evidence would be tossed. Whatever was found subsequent to that search, when the search was predicated on something that, in this case was legal. So what do you do with those dogs? That's the question I have. What do you do with all these trained police dogs? I imagine some of them will be taken home and cared for because they're going to be retired by many, except for in Tacoma. Tacoma's keeping the dogs. But there's another story. I'll just have to see. I don't know. I don't have a way to play it for you right now because, for various and sundry reasons. Anyway, there was another story today, a very similar story out of Oregon. And Oregon's got a completely different mindset on this. They're like, no, we have to retire all the dogs for just the reason that I cited. The dog's going to alert to legal marijuana as long as it's within the law, and chances are it's going to be. And then you got a problem with the dog causing a case issue. They had a good tight case before, but now there's not one because of the stupid dog alerting to the pot. So we don't want to chance that in Oregon, is what they're saying. We're going to retire these dogs. We've already desensitized them to the marijuana, but the law is, was it July 1st, I think, in Oregon, when everybody can start possessing legally and going to the dispensaries to get it. The dogs are going to be, there's going to be a point of confusion in there. All these dogs, there's a lot of them. The police departments in an entire state have a lot of dogs in training. Dogs have a service span and then they have a lifespan. So generally the dogs get retired, 4, 5, 6 years before their lifespan is expected to end. And they go home and they hang out, usually with their handlers. That's who they usually end up with. But, that just happens sporadically as the dogs age and they have to retire them. And there's a training program and they bring the new dogs in. But don't you see how doing this all at the same time can be a huge problem? Number one, do you have enough dogs to retrain the existing force, to replenish the existing dog force? And then number two, what do you do with all the old dogs? Because I'll bet you not all of them can be absorbed by the existing cops, the handlers, the current guys, because a lot of those dogs go home at night with those dog handlers. The guy that shows up at your door with the dog that does the search, generally that's his dog. I mean, he is the handler. He cares for it at night off work hours. What do you do with all those dogs? I don't know. We'll talk about that and more. It's Freaky Friday 420 Facts today on The Full Melt Show.
You're getting the full melt.
It's not easy out there, but it can be easier. And when it comes to medical marijuana in Michigan and chronic pain management, Dr. Bob Townsend, renowned for his patient advocacy and deep understanding of how patients and medical marijuana certifications fit together, makes it his hallmark to educate and provide the best holistic treatment for your condition. His knowledgeable staff makes you feel warm and welcome, and Dr. Bob makes you feel well. With locations across the state in Cadillac and Gaylord, Kalamazoo, Marquette, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, Saginaw, Traverse City, you can't beat the convenience and feeling you get knowing you have someone on your side that cares. Denali Healthcare is on the web at denalihealthcaremi.com. Get answers to your holistic health questions or schedule an appointment now by calling 989-339-4464. Chronic pain management and holistic health answers is what they do. It's all they do. DenaliHealthcareMI.com. Get your certification and peace of mind now by making an appointment with Dr. Bob Townsend at 989-339-4464.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
They're parasites. They've got no contribution to this society. They're preying on our community and our kids. And it's going to end badly.
We've got exactly $100,000 in cash in the back of this car. I bet there's guys right there in that prison for doing just what we're about to do.
I want the Breckenridge Cannabis Club to be a household name.
This is us pioneering a new industry.
He's going after every resort town in Colorado. His plan is brilliant.
This is a big boy operation now.
We are not the Amsterdam of the Rockies. We're Breckenridge.
Absolutely unbelievable to us that this has happened so quickly.
That's when the town erupted.
All hell can break loose.
I think we have an image to protect.
The powerful elite has definitely put the pressure on.
Everyone is playing everyone.
They're going to have a target painted on their back.
That is a real threat.
There's $2 billion to be had next year. I plan to take more than my fair share.
High Profits, Sunday night at 10 Eastern on CNN. Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
With this warmer weather, I get more active. But aches and pains keep me from doing things I enjoy, like golfing and working outside my yard. Toledo Hemp Center's new location, 1415 Sylvania Avenue, has shown me there is an alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. I use CBD, cannabidiol, infused hemp lotions, oral sprays, and topical oils. Thank you, Toledo Hemp Center, for helping me restore and maintain my health with no side effects and no high. Find out more at ToledoHempCenter.com.
Oh, no, there's no music to rejoin. I forgot. Oh, that's going to be a problem. That might be a problem. You know what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to drag something into the next segment. Oh, I don't even know how to do that. We're going to be musicless on Freaky 420 Friday. There will be no rejoin music. Oh, well. What are you going to do? Live radio, sometimes that stuff happens. Listen. We're here every Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. on thefullmelt.com. You can also find us on iTunes. At the top of thefullmelt.com, at the top of the page, you're going to find a button for Facebook and a button for Twitter. Please like and follow us there. If you get a chance, go over to the Spreaker page and follow us on Spreaker. I've got some plans if we get enough likes and follows on the Spreaker. That'll help proliferate the show. And that helps everybody. It helps us spread the word. It helps us get the news out. It helps the advertisers on the program. We get more listeners. It just works out better for everybody. So please do that. Listen, we were talking before the break about Freaky Friday and the Freaky Friday 420 news. I don't know. I just had to say a lot of Fs today. It was an effing kind of day. And so we were talking about the dogs and the things. So I guess what it comes down to is if you're going to change the law, at least have the hindsight, have the thoughtfulness to look into how this may affect people on the ground and plan for it. Get the dogs in training ahead of time. Get the other dogs that are doing the sniffing out, that are trained on the marijuana, get them out of the system before the law changes, before there are issues with other cases, more important cases, potentially violent cases. Because y'all know the pot people are not violent people. Much more likely to run into somebody who's having a violent episode over being extremely drunk than extremely high. You get extremely high, what do? You fall asleep. That's what you do. The drunk guy's like, nah, I can drive. Oh, you're going to take my keys from me? No, I'm going to fight you. Put them fighting words, put up the dukes. Swinging in the air. The guy gets knocked on his ass. I mean, this is what happens. But the dog's got to have some place to go. Wouldn't it be a horrible tragedy if some of these dogs were put into shelters because they didn't have it was a surplus of these police dogs? I mean, these are animals that served as, civilian police. A lot of them, I don't know, do they have an actual badge? I don't know. They do get like a police funeral. I don't know if they get union representation or not, but the dogs do get to, they get glorified and honored for their duty, for their service. And they should. But are you doing that same thing? Because that's, they have the dog funeral and all that when a dog dies in service, or even a service dog that's just died naturally. They all get these, the police respect. How respectful is it if the police are having to turn these dogs over because the handler's already got dogs at home he can't take anymore, or he's in the process of training new ones? What do we do with the old one? if you got thousands and thousands of dogs, probably at least in the hundreds, I would say hundreds of dogs. Across the country, it's obviously thousands. But you've got several states that have made this change, 4 of them. I think Colorado already dealt with this issue. I have not, admittedly, for the purposes of this program, delved into what Colorado did. But it seems obvious by the news that the people in Oregon didn't see this coming, and they've got this massive changeover to worry about. I would suggest that if you got German Shepherd puppies and you happen to live in the Oregon area, chances are they may want to talk to you and see if they can recruit one of your puppies into the training program. And again, what do you do with the old dogs? I just don't see an answer to that question that's, going to leave a good taste in my mouth. And I hope not yours either. Unless you've planned for it. And it's clear that these agencies didn't plan for it. They saw this coming. They knew this was happening. Where's the planning? All the people growing the pot for the recreational scene figured it out. They needed the time to grow the marijuana and get it into shops and comply with laws and do all that stuff before somebody could actually walk into one and purchase something. Why didn't the police have the foresight to do this training and getting the changeover done before the law changes? And you got other problems with other cases. What amazes me beyond that is the idea that the people in Tacoma, in Washington, the cops there are like, no, we're keeping our stupid dogs with the stupid marijuana smell. We're not going to do all that. Screw you pot-smoking guys. We're pulling you over. It's federally illegal. They still got the old... Look, you're dragging your feet through the cement, and that cement's going to harden if you don't get them out. That's all I got to say about that. So that's just one weird, Freaky Friday fact, this whole business with the dogs. So I guess I could, let me try this. I think there's a piece out of this news story that might interest you, since we are talking about the dogs. And this is from WPXI. The PXI is in Pittsburgh. But they're talking about a story in Oregon as Pennsylvania considers challenging the legality of marijuana, because that's what they are doing there. They talk about this strange case out of Oregon. An interesting consequence of legalizing marijuana has Oregon Police Department scrambling. Now, canine police officers are trained to detect the scent of marijuana and can't be untrained, they say. If a dog were to alert and resulted in a search of a person or their property that turned up evidence in addition to marijuana, that evidence would likely be challenged in court as the result of an illegal search. That's exactly what I just got through saying, isn't it? It's definitely a problem. And hopefully somebody can look into that and figure out what to do. If you want to contribute, incidentally, to today's program, and I don't know that this is going to happen or not, but I'm going to throw it out there anyways, 1-844-420-TALK. I've got several lines open here. So then another weird, strange, freaky fact, which I don't know how freaky it is per se. Actually, let me see if it's still in here, the thing that I put in here. Yeah. Good. Well, that worked out well. This business with Ohio groups. Well, Michigan as well. It seems to me by some inside sources, a couple of them, in fact, so this is doubly sourced. I'm not going to name the sources, and I'm not even going to claim that the story is actually true. However, I'll just say, according to inside sources in Ohio, RO, or Responsible Ohio, also known as RO, which is popularly referred to as the monopoly scheme for legalizing marijuana in Ohio, has no money. They are broke. Investors, the ones that invested into this scheme, by the tens of thousands of dollars, in some cases more than that, have retracted. These are the guys that are supposed to be promised a grow facility, one of the 10, when the bill gets put through by the citizens via ballot petition and vote. Now, the thing with this is, it seems that legislators in Ohio have been, massaged into paying attention to the idea that in Ohio, a few years ago, because I remember, the late 90s when I was doing, major news out there for a big radio station. They were sending us out to try and cover the idea. They've been doing it for the whole time that I lived in Ohio, which is about 6 years. Trying to get casino gambling done in Ohio. Casino gaming. And, you have to remember, Ohio is traditionally a very conservative state. It's been a red state. It's not one of those states that tends to waver. It doesn't turn blue very often. And that being said, the people there are, the legislators there are highly against marijuana. And they're also highly against, apparently, casino gaming. Well, somebody somewhere figured out, especially after the Citizens United Supreme Court case, you can't take money out of politics. Money equals free speech. Isn't the antithesis of that if you don't have money, you have no free speech? That your free speech is limited by the fact that you have no money? I don't know. It seems when you start calling a non-living entity, giving it personification, giving it rights, giving it... A company doesn't live. People that work for the company live. The company shouldn't have rights, not like people have. They don't have civil rights. But businesses, have clung on to and have been trying to for some time ascribe civil rights to their businesses. And that's what that whole, Citizens United thing was. But, basically the Supreme Court says you can't take money out of politics. Well, these guys need that money to get this bill through. First off, I think they already paid the people, if I'm not mistaken, according to the other reports that I have. They paid the people already to gather the signatures. But now it seems that the investors that had the money to do the advertising and all that stuff to, keep it from being, the police, obviously going to put their own ads on to keep, hey, vote no on the ballot petition. Keep your kids safe. Bark, bark in the background. A couple of police squawks and the blue and red lights. I remember red, white, and blue American, keep your kids safe. That's the message. In order to fight that campaigning and get their off-year ballot petition passed, because remember, they're trying to get it on the ballot this year. Ballot language has been approved. They're out there collecting signatures. They're almost there. And then all of a sudden it seems that the people that put their money in to do all the backing of this, that were promised one of the 10 grows, are pulling their money out. And I said all that stuff about the legislature because the legislature's like, look, these guys that did the casino gaming, remember this is a conservative area, and they didn't like the casino gaming. So some smart people figured out, again, with that Citizens United thing in mind, that, Citizens United doesn't directly affect this. It's just more the same thing. Hey, we'll put our money together and we'll buy our way in. And the legislature won't do it. Everybody says no all the time. We've been trying to get this done for years and years. We've got the money behind us. Let's just put a ballot petition up. We'll gather signatures, make it so that certain people get granted special rights. Basically, it's a casino monopoly. We'll write it into the Constitution that only these special people get to have a casino. Everybody else, it's illegal. We catch you, running your, what is that, the poker game, what is that, Texas Hold'em. We catch you running your Texas Hold'em games, we're going to arrest you for gambling. Gaming is illegal in the state of Ohio. You can't do that unless you're a casino. You get special rights for those guys. Well, they did it by, paying people off and gaining favors, a little money spread around in the right places. Boom. Bingo, bango, big horseshoe-shaped casino in Cleveland, another one in Toledo. The Hollywood Casino is now in Toledo. I don't know if they did riverboat gaming or not. I know that was a big question at some point. There's certain casinos. There's, I think, 4 of them. 4 or 6? I think it's 4, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. It's limited. Only certain people can run the casino gaming. That's it. It's enshrined into the Ohio Constitution. Well, this is where these people at RO, Responsible Ohio, got their idea from. And now you got legislators with their ire up. They're already pissed off that they passed this gaming thing in such a sleight of hand way. Oh, those guys, those bastards with that money, they spread it around and they got around our stuff and the people voted it in. Oh, God, now we got the casinos. We're sinning. Oh, we're sinning. We're gamblers. It's horrible. I'm going to have to go to church and wash all this off. And now they're looking at the same thing coming up the road, but instead of a casino gaming sign coming up the street with all its Las Vegas glitz and glamour, They see the guy with the tie-dye T-shirt coming up the street, smoking his pot, dragging behind him a tin can. I mean, that's the image they got in their heads. Hey, we're going to do the same thing that those guys that did the casino gaming did. And so that's exactly what RO did. They hired the same firms that did the casino gaming. They put the same program into place. And now the legislature's like, we don't like this at all. We already saw the one guy coming up the street, and we didn't like him, and we were hoping that we could rally against him and get him off the street. But he passed us. He's already, there's casinos everywhere now. And so we got the pot guy coming up the street. No, you cannot do this. You cannot enshrine into the Ohio Constitution special privileges for certain people so they can grow some pot. What are we turning into? I wish I had the quote here because I'd play it for you. Maybe after the break without the music, because there's going to be no music now. I should, coming back from the break, not going into the break, we're going to have to do something here. We're going to have to stop this. How can we stop this? Well, let's just make it so that if you're going to do this, if you're going to come up the street with a bunch of money and spread it around and buy your way around the legislature through some ballot petition because you can afford to get it done, we're going to make it harder for you. We're going to say that you can't just do one ballot petition and change a major law and create at the same time, and this is a linchpin of the whole language, and create at the same time special privileges for certain people enshrined in the Constitution. So if you want to do something like that, you'd have to do two separate ballot petitions. One to get rid of the prohibition, and then the second one to say who gets the fruits of that change, who's entitled to get in there and have access. Who's going to be the beneficiary of this change? Have to be a separate ballot petition. And I think what that's done, at least from the inside looking out, is it scared the people who put all their hard-earned dollars. Remember, these are investment capital people. They expect an ROI. They want return on investment. The question is, are they going to get that? If the legislators make these changes and say you can't do this all in one swing, you got to do it in two. Boy, doesn't that throw a monkey wrench into gears? I'll tell you, nobody wants to talk about this officially yet. But when the chances come to fruition, we'll bring them to you here on the show, hopefully in person. More on Freaky Friday 420 Facts coming up next right here. You're getting the Full Melt on the Full Melt Show. Stand by.
Getting the Full Melt.
It started with Weed 1.
Some have called it a watershed moment.
Then came Weed 2.
It's absurd that we would have to do this to get medicine.
Now Dr. Sanjay Gupta is at it again, and he's reaching higher than ever with Weed 3.
I never thought I would be smoking weed in the hospital.
The movement behind it.
We demand this plant go through the process of the FDA.
The radical research.
I have to say, I'm kind of stunned.
Weed 3, the marijuana revolution.
Each week, Pot Pitch takes a look at different medical or legal pot business as they attempt to seek investment capital and partners in order to take their business to the next level. What do investors like?
And which entrepreneurs are shown the door?
Real venture capitalists, smart entrepreneurs, and exciting business models in a brand new industry, cannabis. Pot Pitch. Find out what this new marijuana industry will look like and who its players will be. Real deals, real people, real decisions. Pot Pitch at potpitch.com and featured on the Full Melt Radio Show.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
With this warmer weather, I get more active. Headaches and pains keep me from doing things I enjoy, like golfing and working outside my yard. Toledo Hemp Center's new location, 1415 Sylvania Avenue, has shown me there is an alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. I use CBD, cannabidiol, infused hemp lotions, oral sprays, and topical oils. Thank you, Toledo Hemp Center, for helping me restore and maintain my health with no side effects and no high. Find out more at ToledoHempCenter.com.
I had to do something to make up for the fact that I had no music on the other side of the commercial break. So it's iPhone bumper music is what we got. And it's older stuff, too. What are you going to do? So we're talking about the whole thing with Freaky Friday 420 fun. I don't know, facts. Facts, not fun. Some of it's not fun. I'll just say that right off the top. And, I had something more on this Ohio thing that we were in the break, and I wanted to kind of reference it. This was good lords. Good lords, I said lords. This is out of Columbus. This was from some days ago. Several proposals in the works. You know what? I'm not even going to read this story because this is too old. Or maybe the picture's old. I don't know. I'm going to skip over it. Well, we already talked about Ohio. We got Ohio enough. There's some woodwork that's going to produce some worms. Worms are coming out of the woodwork. Woodworms, I would suppose, about this. Something's going to happen there. Keep your eyes peeled. Remember, there are 5 different groups that are trying to get this done. Some of them this year, some of them next year, most of them next year. There's also talk of limiting these ballot petition groups into which years they could potentially put these kinds of petitions on the ballot. They're trying to restrict that further. You're getting some pushback from the legislature in Ohio trying to say, no, we don't want you doing this here. Forget about it. But they're doing it anyway. So enough of that. Looking over some further things, here's another weird thing. I guess it's not so weird as it is just, on its head. It doesn't make sense. For ill patients, medical marijuana in New York remains out of reach. This story out of the Poughkeepsie Journal. From Albany. Dateline, Albany. The 10-year-old girl stood smiling at the governor's side as he signed the medical marijuana bill into law last July. Nearly a year ago. Amanda Hauser was so excited for the event, her mother said her health problems, a rare form of epilepsy, were nearly forgotten that day. And the photo from the New York City event of Amanda bashfully holding her cheeks next to Governor Andrew Cuomo is one of the more memorable images from his time in office. But the good feelings from the event have gradually subsided, and ill patients are increasingly frustrated that nearly a year later, they still can't access medical marijuana in New York. Excuse me. She really shined that day, knowing that she might get the medicine, Amanda's mother, Marianne of Suffern, Rockland County, said. She asks, when am I going to get it? She's tired of being different from the other kids. As New York nears awarding licenses to companies who will grow and distribute the medical marijuana, critics are concerned the system won't be in place by the state's expected January 1st target. They're also questioning how readily available the drug will be throughout the state. New York, incidentally, is not the only state having this problem. There are other states. We won't get into that now. In the meantime, some state lawmakers, Democrats and Republicans, are pressing for a bill to allow for emergency access to the drug for patients with most urgent needs, such as the kids with severe epilepsy. They're seeking to have the bill passed before the legislative session ends June 17th. After that law was approved a year ago, it started an 18-month clock for the state health department to have the program underway. The drug will be available in non-smokable forms, such as pills, oils, and vapors. Now, I don't know. Maybe that's only in concentrates then. Because how can you say, because a lot of, if you're going to use, say, a volcano vaporizer or a pen designed for flour, what's to say that instead of putting it in the vaporizer, you don't just crush it up and roll it and smoke it? Because under the New York program, that would be illegal. I would have to say that likely flour by itself, talking about marijuana buds, is not going to be you can't locate that in the state of New York after this licensing happens. It's probably going to be just concentrates so that you can vaporize it, oils, and pills. So that they crush it up. Again, if you're crushing up the pill, the marijuana they put in capsules so that you can consume it, what's to say that you don't empty out 8 or 10 capsules and make a joint? Or fill your bong? Or put it in your pipe? I don't, really, again, do legislatures really look into the crystal ball and see, what they're proposing, how it may affect things? Because whoever was thinking about this, really, if indeed what I said is true, and I think it is, how are they going to prevent this from happening? And really, if it does happen, who's going to care? How are you going to know? Really? And then there's, of course, all the driving considerations, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of the places that have medical marijuana laws have various and sundry transportation rules. I know in the state of Michigan, your marijuana, if you're transporting it in the car, because the Medical Marijuana Act in Michigan allows you to transport the marijuana. It's mentioned in the act. And the cops had a hard time with that. And so they're like, look, if you're going to transport your marijuana, then they actually amended the act. They amended it, and they got enough people to do it. Let me tell you, in Michigan, they've been trying to repeal certain ballot initiatives, just like the Ohio thing. The legislators here do not like it when citizens go to the polls and enact their own laws. They don't like it at all. We're in control of that. You hired us to do that. Let us say what happens here. Well, we hired you to represent us. And we keep asking you to do what we ask you to do, and you keep saying no anyways, based on your own ideals, not by representation of the people which are your constituents. And that's how that stuff gets done. In the long run, it says here in the article, my biggest concern, it says, right now is how long it's going to take for the children with epilepsy and other people with the life-threatening conditions to get any medication, said Assembly Health Committee Chairman Richard Godfrey. He's a Democrat from Manhattan, the longtime champion of legalized medical marijuana. It's frustrating. It's very political here, and I don't think it should have anything to do with politics, because these are health questions, health policy issues. Excuse me. Boy, must be getting a cold. It's settling in. The state expects to award 5 contracts to private marijuana growers who will each be permitted to open up to 4 dispensaries and distribute the drug to patients in New York certified by their doctors. The State Department Department of Health has defended its process. Cuomo, the governor, sought to get emergency rules in place by getting medical marijuana into New York quicker, but the federal government rejected his request. Our top priority is to deliver relief to those in pain, and we're doing so as expeditiously as possible under current federal guidelines and within the confines of the Compassionate Care Act, which Assemblyman Godfrey sponsored, supported, and passed through his own House, Cuomo spokesman said. So, I guess earlier this month, the state pushed back a deadline by a week to June 5th to apply for a license to grow and distribute medical marijuana, which to me tells me that they didn't get enough people applying, or that they didn't like the people applying. Because I know there are enough people in New York with $210,000 in their pocket to make application for that process. You know there are. I don't know what's scaring them away. Why did they extend the date to June 5th? They extended it by a week. Maybe they were passing special privilege for somebody who didn't get their act together yet. They wanted that $210,000 because the $10,000 is non-refundable. The $200,000 you might get back if they deny you, I guess. That's a hefty chunk of change to get into the growing market in the state of New York. But the problem is that the people who need it still can't get it, and they keep pushing the dates back. And the more they push the dates back, look, if you don't get a license yet, you can't grow yet. Are you going to find a facility to do the growing? Then it's got to pass all the state hurdles for whatever that facility must look like. Local regulations, et cetera, et cetera. Then you finally do get the stuff planted and going. You got to do the acquisition of the strains, all that stuff. You get it growing. It's going to take you at least 3 months from the time that you plant that garden to get it to size so that you can now bloom it. And it's going to take another 2 months minimum to do that. So you're looking at 6-8 months from the time that they actually get these things into place. And so the question is, these people with debilitating conditions, because remember, New York's one of those places where they're like, oh, just extremely, they're like New Jersey was at first. I think New York toyed with this first before New Jersey, got his got their governor in place saying, yeah, you're not going to do that here. I'm not extending any more things on the medical marijuana. Marijuana is not a medicine. It's federally illegal. As governor, I'm not going to, extend any further medical marijuana. We're not adding conditions. We're not, broadening the program. It's virtually non-existent in New Jersey. That's kind of how it was in New York for the longest time, until they did some modifications. Some people came and they brought these kids in and said, look, hello, can we do this? They got it done. But they still haven't gotten it done. And it may be some time. So now the legislature is doing what they can to make allowance for some other process, trying to get cannabis in from other places so that there can be some emergency access by these people who've been so patiently waiting for the government to do their bidding. And we're talking people who are suffering here in great ways. Their families are suffering in that suffrage. I mean, so many people are affected. But it seems like it's not getting done. So to me, that is another freaky event. These states that are doing the low THC oils only kind of thing, and there's a few of them. There's quite a few of them. Just don't have a method or a way to get this done in a permanent way that is, going to affect people. I guess the permanent way isn't the way to say it. Getting it done in an effective way so that the people who need it get it now. Waiting around for a couple of years, some people might not have a couple of years based on your own definitions, for crying out loud. More to come on Freaky Friday 420 Facts this Freaky Friday. And look, to me, it's been a very freaky day. Coming up next on The Full Melt Show.
You're getting The Full Melt.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Each week, Pot Pitch takes a look at different medical or legal pot business as they attempt to seek investment capital and partners in order to take their business to the next level. What do investors like?
And which entrepreneurs are shown the door?
Real venture capitalists, smart entrepreneurs, and exciting business models in a brand new industry, cannabis. Pot Pitch. Find out what this new marijuana industry will look like and who its players will be. Real deals, real people, real decisions. Pot Pitch at potpitch.com and featured on the Full Melt Radio Show.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
It's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
They're parasites. They've got no contribution to this society. They're preying on our community and our kids. And it's going to end badly.
We've got exactly $100,000 in cash in the back of this car. I bet there's guys right there in that prison for doing just what we're about to do.
I want the Breckenridge Cannabis Club to be a household name.
This is us pioneering a new industry.
He's going after every resort town in Colorado. His plan is brilliant.
This is a big boy operation now.
We are not the Amsterdam of the Rockies, we're Breckenridge.
Absolutely unbelievable to us that this has happened so quickly.
That's when the town erupted.
All hell can break loose.
I think we have an image to protect.
The powerful elite has definitely put the pressure on.
Everyone is playing everyone.
They're going to have a target painted on their back.
That is a real threat.
There's $2 billion to be had next year. I plan to take more than my fair share.
High Profits, Sunday night at 10 Eastern on CNN. Hey, you're listening to The Full Melt Show. So, look, it's been a crazy day. It really has. A lot of stuff going on today, a lot of strange things happening, and you know, I don't know. One of the strange things, and this is entirely not, pot-related, but I do have a lot of Facebook friends who are definitely marijuana-related. I would say 80 to 90% of my Facebook friends are either smokers, users, growers, distributors, or all of the above. They're from all across the country. Primarily, I have a good group of them here in the state of Michigan. We've done this show here in Michigan for 5-some years. We haven't done it on a nationwide basis up until very recently, the last few months. But one of the things that struck me, and this relates to the marijuana thing, because I think this group of people must be just either too stoned or extremely paranoid from using the weed. Look, if the weed's making you that paranoid, lay off the weed a little bit. Don't be so paranoid. Let me tell you what it's about. In Michigan, there is a National Guard training camp up in Gaylord. No, I take that back, in Grayling. I used to live in Gaylord when I drive by Grayling all the time, so I had a brain fart there. So up in Grayling, it's called Camp Grayling. It is where the National Guard comes to train, and because of it's such a big training facility, because they have all the implements of war there, a lot of other, I think there's other training that happens there because of the playground. You know, they've got the obstacles, they've got the fake cities, they've got all that stuff there to reenact war. And every single year, and I mean every single year for the past several years, and before it really got popular with Facebook, there's always somebody that sees a line of military vehicles coming up the road, because they frequently have convoys that travel up, and then they hang out and they do their training, and then they follow back to their local National Guard facility, their local barracks, their local training area. It's usually just a warehouse somewhere. But these every time I see this, every single year for the past several years, there's some group of people who assemble loosely around the topic and start proposing conspiracy theories. Last year, it was the group, the military vehicles going up the road. They were in their regular. I've seen these guys all my life going up and down the expressway this time of the year. But it's only been recently, since the social media has been out, and since marijuana has been more prevalent, at least from a protected sort of way in the state of Michigan. You get this group of you get these people posting pictures of it, or posting recounts of what they saw, and then ascribing some, nefarious activity, some hidden secret government thing that's going on. It's always a conspiracy. That's, I think last year the big thing was, what was it? All the vehicles. Oh, I know what it was. They were the president was getting ready to declare martial law, and they were going to start rounding up people's guns. I mean, that's what came out of the National Guard riding up to their training facility to, excuse me, I had to cough there, to do their standard training. Going to cough again. Oh, good Lord. That's definitely a cold coming on. So the guards going up the road, people start pointing their fingers and start immediately tying the first thing that scares them to what they saw. And the more that they post about it, the more other people believe it as fact. Hey, I saw that too. Hey, I think the same thing. And the next thing you know, martial law has been declared and nobody can go out after 10 o'clock. There's a curfew now. And you got to give up your guns. You better turn them into the local sheriff's department, because that's what's going to happen next. And then you getting the people saying, look, I'm squaring off. You get what is that show you see on some of the cable channels? There's a couple shows like that where they're preparing for, what are they called? The guys that do the preparation for the, after the United States has been overthrown, when everybody's, when the government's collapsed and everybody's going to be looking for food, and some neighbor's going to come poking at you with a gun because you got a can of beans, that kind of thing. I forget what they call those guys. I'm not going to start searching for it now. But the point is that every single time the Guard does something or there's activity at that base, there's always been, of late, amongst my marijuana friends, some giant conspiracy theory tied to it. And I'm just telling you, it's bunk. It's standard training. Now, there is some news about, ISIS in America. At first it was the Texans saying, ISIS is going to come across the border any minute. We're preparing for ISIS. They're coming now. They're going to take our children and they're going to beat our women. People are going to be buried up to their necks and stoned to death. None of that's happening. I'm just saying, ISIS is not in Mexico. And if somebody from ISIS was in Mexico, I'm pretty sure it would stand out. Hey, senor. What's with the burqa, man? I'm just saying. Chances are nobody from ISIS is going to spill across the Texas border into the United States. And these guys, there was a convoy of 8 choppers, the Blackhawks, that were in formation flying up there. And somebody took a picture of it and posted it on Facebook. And all of a sudden, because of the ISIS news, because of the recent stuff about, there might be some Americans that have been gleaned by the ISIS teachers. And they might be being, secretly trained by ISIS on the internet to be like a sleeper cell. The lone wolf scenario. And that there might be some secret American ISIS sympathizers hiding out in the United States. And I don't dispute that could be the case. Minus probably the training part. It's pretty easy to track somebody over to, Pakistan and follow them through a training camp before they came back to the States. I'm pretty sure TSA's got the raps on that. By the way, now that I've mentioned the TSA, and incidentally, before I have to come back to the TSA thing. Don't let me forget about the TSA thing. The business with this with ISIS, the accusation that they made was that there's an ISIS threat because ISIS somewhere posted on some page somewhere that they were going to hang an ISIS flag at Camp Grayling. I'm sorry, but I can't stop laughing at the whole notion. First off, there's no member of ISIS in an official capacity with any kind of weapon of warfare or any ability in this hemisphere. Let's just be really clear about that. Nobody in this hemisphere is from ISIS. And if there's a sympathizer somewhere, if there's a lone wolf scenario, even if you could tie some of them together as a sleeper cell, none of them are going to hang a flag at a military training facility in northern Michigan. Get it out of your heads, because it ain't true. Not a lick of it. Perhaps, and I'm not saying that there, maybe isn't some heightened awareness, but if you had called up Camp Grayling and talked to any official there, including some of the grunts, some of the guys that are just going through the regular training, if you asked them if there was a chance, a snowball's chance in hell of somebody from ISIS showing up at this military camp and raising an ISIS flag, they would literally fall on the ground laughing. What are the chances that could happen whatsoever? Yet somehow, schemed up in the paranoid minds of some pot smokers, and there's nothing wrong with pot smoking, just if it's making you paranoid, you probably should put it down for a few minutes and eat something. Maybe take a little nappy nap. Because nobody is... There's the government... Obama hasn't issued martial law. He's not taken over and taken your guns away. And nobody from ISIS is going to show up at a nearby military camp, especially the National Guard in a forested area, in a secluded, very rural area. Nobody from ISIS is going to make it there. Let's just count on that as factual. Because is it just me, or am I the only one with clear eyes about this? Because I could get stoned as the day is long, and I would still not believe that ISIS is going to raise a flag at Camp Grayling. Sorry. I had to get on that soapbox for a minute because it is another freaky fact and it is tied to marijuana, so I had to squeeze it into today's program. Look, coming up on Monday, we're going to be talking about terrific, fantastical, fun events that are happening in the marijuana community across the United States. The top 15 events that you might want to make your way to coming up on Monday's program. It should be a fantastical, fun time. Hope to see you then. I am diving out of this crazy day. Even if there wasn't any bumper music to support me, I'm diving out of here. We'll see you next time on The Full Melt Show. Our time is ended. Thank goodness. He shut up already.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.